Audio.
So we'll move.
Just to hold that for just a quick sec, Peter.
Yeah.
Struggling with Zoom again here, so. All right. Okay. Proceed, Peter.
I move that the minutes for the June 9th meeting be accepted as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been moved and made and seconded. All those in favor of adoption of the
Discussion?
minute? Yep. Sorry, you're correct. Any discussion on the motion?
I would recommend that Jerry Lee's name be entered in the list of visitors.
He is listed
He's
up
listed
under
under
clerk on
clerk.
the top left.
Oh, yes. Didn't see that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the June 9th meeting minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. For the record, because the last time I chaired a meeting, it came up as to what is my role in the position that I am a voted in city councilman. So unlike Mayor Luck, I actually can move and vote in the meeting. But from everything I found, that according to Robert's Rules of Order, it is highly distasteful. It would be legal for me to do so, but it would be distasteful for me to do so. Especially in groups under a size of 13, if I remember correctly, it is permissible. But unless I have to, I will not vote, nor will I move during this meeting. So motion passes 3-0. Next on our agenda, I believe, pulling this back up, is the approval of the bills. Yes, approval of bills. So I do particularly like to go through document by document. Nathan's done this a little bit, but to me, it just seems like it rolls a lot easier if we are all on the same page with things. Where is, oh, that's one. Okay, check register. Got it. All right, so this is this broke up by paid and unpaid claims? Doesn't, Jerry, is there paid and unpaid, or is this all together on?
Should be all paid.
All paid, okay. Well, that makes that simple. So then we just have the check register document and the payroll. So let's start with the check register document, which we previously would have known as paid and unpaid claims. Any questions on the check register document?
I just have one. If I find it again. The Chevron and Texaco business card, is that fuel? What is that? On 438?
Yeah, that's that
Okay.
old
Okay.
wax card that we got.
I just didn't, it was either Chevron. I didn't know that they had combined Chevron and Texaco the same. Or is there two different cards? It's all one.
Yeah. As far as I know, we're getting our gas from the Grange now, Odessa Grange.
Okay. And 433, excuse me, 443. Dwight Heidegger.
Heidegger Excavation.
Okay, that's, I know that where they were digging it, but for $3,084.
Does that work Was that work done even before Devin was hired, or was it right around the time when Devin was hired, correct?
think
So
so.
that was part of why we were offloading, I think, some of that work that we
Contracted
would, yeah. So I think that's why that's a little bit higher than we would normally see for
Right.
such
It was
things.
also an urgent call.
Right, there's that too.
And 447, Lukens and Annis
That's-
legal.
Yeah,
What do we have?
there is, I believe, grant money that's coming in. Once they have the receipt, that once AWC has the receipt that we've paid, they will follow up with grant money up to $5,000,
Okay,
and they will pay. But they want to reimburse after we've paid.
And I think, and I speak not from the position of mayor, but in other words, this is not informed, but as a councilman, I say that I think that that's regards to the handbook money.
okay. Well, yeah, because I just see two entries here. One for $2,233 and another one for $26.53.50.
Two different invoices.
Two different invoices. Yeah, they're different claims. How it works. And Adams Street, I think I asked, see, they're gonna be addressed tonight at all, the TD&H engineering at all?
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, 5,000. That's
The street lighting, I'm assuming, is insurance covered or will be.
Kaiser Mechanical.
No, the last one was 474 about the, or no,
Yeah,
yeah.
I seen it.
Was Wesco.
Mhm.
I got approval on that. It got dropped by AWC. And I called them this week and they reminded them that that was still out there.
Mhm.
So they want to see that we've made the payment and then they'll reimburse up to 2,000.
What was 492? That one for Kaiser Mechanical for $5,036.58.
That was for
Street lighting.
park cables.
Okay. For
or
the city,
something.
the town square. Which comes out of that grant money, the matching
Okay.
grant money.
Okay. I was trying to think, what the heck did we do? Street lighting?
Yeah.
Well, I know we've had windstorms, but okay.
I'm a little curious, how do we end up with 4 bills from AAA Labs in the course of one billing cycle?
There were some that were left over from last one.
Okay,
So I was trying to get everything caught up.
I appreciate that. I was just kind of curious. Just
What was
seeing
the
it pop up.
total on that?
See, that's 283 plus
Roughly.
650 plus 650 plus 1246. So that's like
4,600?
2700 bucks.
And you bought some supplies, right, Jerry?
Yes.
So does anyone have any more questions on the check register document before we move on to payroll?
What was, oh, never mind, I think we already addressed that, Wesco, the modern light. Yeah, that's all I had questioned.
Going once, going twice. Okay, payroll. Guess it says check register at the top too, doesn't it? So my descriptions weren't very good. Got the names on everything. That's great. Which was not meant to be any type of a backhanded comment about last time. I'm just saying I'm glad that we got it all straightened out. That was meant as a compliment.
Thank you.
Oh, that's June supplemental. Okay. Any questions on the payroll document?
2 for Internal Revenue Service, 1 in May and then 1 in July. Deposit pay. 2 different cycles. Okay, so you must have catch up on that or something.
Something. I'm not sure how the payroll got done in May. Can't answer to that. But the June one, I stayed on the phone with Bias and they walked me through the June one.
Right.
So each one that was done by their direction and instructions.
So in theory, the last payroll document we approved should not have had any IRS on it.
I do not know.
Let me see if I can look that
Go
up.
back.
Find it in here. I just want to make sure we didn't double up on anything.
I know why there's 2 IRS payments. It just dawned on me. When I did Devin's payroll check, I had the wrong amount for how much he was paid by the hour. So I went in and did a second check for him, and that would have generated a second IRS deduction because he had 2 checks in order to get to where he needed to be. So
So
that probably was what,
Would it be that much though? I mean,
the June meeting, we approved a payroll document that had an IRS line for $2,406.11.
got that here. So July, we should have approved.
So I think this would then appear because that matches exactly the number that, because this is listed as on date of 6/04, which is probably the last one. So I'm guessing this looks like it's been listed twice, but not paid twice. Let me see if it matches the date from last time. $604. Transaction ID of 387. Do these have transaction IDs on them?
Just 380s. Okay.
Yeah, 387. Okay, so that's the same transaction ID. So it's just a double listing, but not a double payment.
And did we just, June's is posted as July 1st?
Say again, David.
I just want to, the pay cycle is July 1st. Go from 528 deposit. And then we go to July 1st, another deposit. Close enough, I think.
Yeah,
You see that? It's right up in here.
but it's listed on the pay cycles on the memo line. Well, they do this weird thing about pay cycles that they list it from same day on both sides of it, but.
Yeah.
So when council is ready, I'm willing to entertain a motion for the adoption of the bills, approval of the bills.
So moved.
Moved by Peter,
I'll second it.
seconded by David. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the bills signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. Okay, next on our agenda is the treasurer's report. I do not see I do not know who that number is, but I don't think that's Mike Cronrath,
No,
and
he-
Mike's not here.
No,
So he,
disregard.
okay,
Strike that then.
I do know that he
Yeah.
sent in an email today at 1:09, May and June treasurer's report. So I can't speak to it, but if you are interested in the treasurer's report, it is in your inbox.
Is that the cash flow?
No,
PDF?
this was set at 1:09 today. and It's entitled May and June treasurer's report. Make sure everyone's on it. Yeah, I think everyone's here.
And
Make sure.
I bet he sent it to my other,
He sent it to your Gmail.
Okay.
Let me forward it to you.
Sure. Could you forward it to me as well? I didn't get it on there.
Yours, it says he sent it
Does it
to,
have? Okay, I checked it tonight and didn't see it under my council.
here, I'll just forward it to everyone here. So Levi,
almost here. I copied that off. Does it say approval of April meeting minutes?
Should be two.
It's typo.
Okay. all right. Probably put in June and the dang computer changes everything on you now.
Levi. Okay, see if that comes through there for you, David.
Checking for mail.
Well, since I'm not in the position to answer any questions on it anyways, I believe we will move on. Let's see.
Since we have guests waiting. for
Yep.
Query.
I think that's actually on the agenda is listed. We are to mayor update. So I will turn it over to our guests that are here to speak to us on municipal projects here. So Andy, you want to? Sure. Take it away?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm okay.
Yeah, if you could step up a little bit closer for the benefit of our recording and those online.
Just a quick summary. You know, we've been working on the treatment plan. Wrote the operations manual 2019. and the additional 2020. At this stage, well, we applied for money with Ecology and CDBG for the funding because it's an affordable project. As we envisioned it, we estimate about $1.3 million. Ecology has, I think officially, have they sent you a letter yet? Officially awarding you the 75% money? Okay. So that's set in concrete. Let's
Andy,
wait.
can you come a little bit closer? We're still, there's,
Will this stretch?
yeah, we can.
Okay, so the 75% is set in concrete. Legislature has approved it, so you're set there. CDBG will not be making their announcement, their determination until September, which is fine because Ecology, with them being either short-staffed or because of the pandemic and what they're doing, you probably won't be signing the contract till October. Officially, we can already start spending money, but I don't think we should be doing that. So I think what we'll probably do is wait until September and they make the determination, CDBG, that they'll give you the extra 25%, which leaves your indebtedness at $100,000 to be repaid over, well, 50% of which is forgivable. So it'll be $50,000 to the city approximately. I think it'll be a little lower. That'll be, I think, I'm not sure, it's under 1%, I believe, somewhere around there over 20 years. So it's not an awful lot of money. And if you remember the report, I think you'll save more than that, far in excess of that, and just reduced operation costs. I don't think we need to review the things that we're doing, right? Because we've gone through it about 4 or 5 times before the council. But I think it's a worthwhile project. I don't think you can afford it without the CDBG money, which makes it, you'll be paying pennies on the dollar
Mhm.
or less for, having a better plant, one that you can operate. The changes we've made already, the most significant one is just that you can now meet the effluent limits. Before you couldn't, over the 3 years that I've been working for you guys, basically I said, you can't meet the 1 milligram per liter nitrate. And so that was one of the paramount things that we worked on, was getting that raised, and our hydrogeologists documented and basically established the position that it's not, there's interplay between the surface water and the drinking water. So the original analysis done in, I think, 2004 was invalid. Ecology agreed, their hydrogeologists agreed. And so that'll be raised, they think, in the next permit cycle to about 7 or 8, and you're hitting 7 now. So there's no reason you shouldn't be able to meet it. The changes we're making include an additional monitoring well, significant changes. Maybe the biggest one being that you don't have to have a Vector truck anymore. Yours is always in the shop anyway. So basically you won't even have to have one with the new scheme. So that'll save you a ton of money, because Vector truck's a decent one. Used one probably is $300,000. So anyway, so right now it looks like, well, you've got the 75%. We'll hear in September what the prospects are for getting the money. But talking to CDBG, they said that Harrington has a very good chance of getting that money, which is more information than they normally give. So I was appreciative of that. But ecology, I just talked to the 2 ecology people, well, to Cynthia Wall today, and she said she and your permit manager and engineer, Kim Prysock, have been going to bat for you, supporting the CDBG application. And by the way, neither of them is going to be in that position by the end of the year. They've both got promotions. So, and Cynthia's going to work for CDBG.
Okay.
So anyway, that's the status. I am hoping you guys, once you find out that, and favorably that you get the money, proceed with the project. I think it's well worth it to do.
Okay.
So, okay, that's
Thank
it.
you, Andy.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any questions for Andy?
Yeah, if you have any questions, and who is your new operators in here, right? Okay, you guys have my cell phone number, and so if you guys always used to call anyway, on the cell phone when people got off work, and if you have any questions,
Mhm.
just call, like I've told all of you guys in the past, whether it's Justin or Nathan, or even the guy who used to work who works for Microsoft, that if you call and it's just questions, we don't charge for that time,
Okay.
because that's part of the job as far as I'm concerned, and I enjoy it. So, okay, that's it. If you have any questions, you've got my number. Just call. Other than that, I think I'll leave.
Okay.
If I could use your restroom before I go.
No charge.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Andy.
Okay, Steve.
Well, good evening.
Welcome back, Steve.
Well, thank you. Thank you. There's a few new faces, so I'll just introduce myself. I'm Steve Marsh. I'm with TD&H Engineering. Andy takes care of your sewer. We take care of your streets and your water systems. I'm here tonight to talk about Adams Street. And I'm going to start at the beginning. So if some of this is a repeat for you guys, I'm going to apologize. So a year or 2 ago, the town received Transportation Improvement Board funding to redo Adams Street from kind of where it left off down to about the railroad. I'm just picking some items. And we completed the design and we put it out to bid. In this case, it's public money. It's got to go out to a public advertisement and the low bid wins. And there were 2 bidders, and the low bidder was, and I'm going to use a very rough number, The bid was $246,000 to do the work. Now, it was over, by the time everything's said and done, it was a little bit over what TIB had allocated for you. With the pandemic and various other cash issues they have really cut back on funding any overages they did for you guys. Okay, so right now you have a fully funded project for the bid amount, and also the grant also covers our fees to handle the construction inspection and the construction administration. There's the good news. Here's the risk. It does not cover change orders, and change orders will happen. As a very rough, we always tell people, and usually it's a little bit rich, but figure 10% of the bid cost for change orders, which is about $25,000 to use a very rough. TIB will not cover change orders. You have essentially said, we've gone to the well once, they can't go again. So if we decide to move forward, which you guys have not decided, you have not decided to award yet, which is part of the process tonight. Understand that by awarding, you run the risk, there will be change orders that will have to come out of the town's pocket because no one else can fund it.
Okay.
The other option, and this is a gamble, and I wish I could say it was anything safer than a gamble. You could, and we could talk to TIB about this, is reject all bids. Go back out in the fall between about October 15th and November 15th and re-advertise it. In the event you get better bids, now you have a little bit of cushion for change orders because TIB's funding isn't really going to change.
Okay.
You get higher bids, you're not only on the hook for the change orders, but any overages over the original bid. We could go back out again in the winter, but it's the same exact risk. At which point TIB is going to say, you're going to do it, or we will pull all the funding, including what we have already spent. You could go down that route also, and it's a gamble. I just want to make sure that everybody's going into this with their eyes wide open on when you decide to award, if you decide to award, what the risks and rewards are.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
What was it? You mentioned there was two bidders
Yes,
and the next, or the first one, the one we accepted is 246.
yes.
And what was the other one roughly? I didn't have the exact.
It's okay, I've got it right here. 270,000.
So,
The higher bid was 270.
Yes, it was.
so for the benefit of an uninformed neophyte, what kind of change orders come up?
Stuff we didn't foresee.
Which I'm guessing are things that are underneath the ground.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. I was trying to figure it out. Anytime you dig, you have never, we've done geotech out there. Believe me, we've done test pits and took a look at everything. But you don't turn up the entire site. You only pick certain spots. We have done everything we can to reduce what we think are risks for change orders. As soon as they're done digging, the chances of change orders gets reduced significantly. Some typical ones we usually see is we hit a water line that wasn't marked. We hit a sewer line that wasn't marked. Although this one's rare, we hit a car that was not located.
Jimmy Hoffa, right?
We actually, I think you mentioned that, we actually had a project delayed for 2 years. We were doing a bridge project. They were digging on one side human remains rolled out of the embankment. We went to the other side. The same exact thing happened there.
There's a big cemetery.
That is unlikely to happen here.
So it's mighty shallow over
I
there.
think the general rule of thumb is 10% of the bid,
That's what we tell people to budget.
Yeah.
I should say this. Previous years, and this year's been the exception. But previous years, our typical change orders run anywhere from 1 to 4%. This year is wildly different.
Is the bids themselves coming in considerably higher all around?
Yes,
Generally,
Oh,
like
yes.
lumber and everything
you have
30% higher.
you have two problems that are happening. One, the bids are just higher because of a labor shortage. And so everybody's spreading themselves real thin. Three things. Two, contractors are just busy. They don't need the work, so they put a bid in and they go, great, if we get it, we make some money, but if we don't, we're buried anyway, so it doesn't matter. And three, the real issue, we have a $2 million water project going on at Oakdale, is actually getting the material. We were lucky because when we did that project, PVC pipe was not available.
Right.
Well, now it is, but we just found out today that if you're looking for ductile iron pipe, which is just iron pipe, I mean, literally you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, there's iron pipe there. You order today, you get it in December.
Okay, the next thing. How many times can we rebid it?
Logistically, you can rebid it twice because by next summer at this time, TIB is going to make you do it
Okay,
or pull
so
the money.
in a time span of about a year?
Yeah, we would, if you decide to rebid it or you want me to explore that option for you, we would recommend going out in somewhere between literally between October 15th and November 15th. That's the first bidding window for next year's construction. Then you miss that. Then you get into Thanksgiving, you get into Christmas, you get into New Year's, you get into winter. So the next real prime bidding is about 1st of February through middle of March. After that, contractors start filling their plate up really well and you act back in the same position you're in now.
When did ours go out for this one?
April,
It was April.
which is typically a pretty good.
But we had lackluster winter and stuff, so they probably were busy
Well, yeah,
this year.
it's just a sign of the times. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the year, to be honest with you. I mean, we had a $2 million project go on in Oakdale. Last time we had that, we had 7 bidders. This year we had 2.
Are they local bidders, or are they, like you said, the people that probably?
Relatively local, yeah. I mean, it depends on how you define local. They're not out of Anchorage, Alaska.
No, Spokane.
Yeah.
Lincoln County.
Yeah, they're either a Spokane or Wenatchee, I can't remember which one. But for 246,000, you're not traveling too far away from your home base.
So at the point of awarding, are we locked in from material cost rises, or is that another?
No,
change?
it's locked in now. The contractor has to guarantee their prices for 45 days after the bid. And if you award, it locks it in for the price of the project. If you decide to award, construction would likely happen this year.
So the big risk is the overrun, the overcharges, or change orders.
Yes, that is the big risk.
So I'm assuming what you're looking for here is then a motion by the council to award tonight. Or at least that's an outcome that is a possibility.
That is one of the outcomes.
Okay.
The other outcome could be, I don't know how far it would go, is Steve, go back to TIB and ask him if we can rebid it. I've casually explored that with them. It is their feeling that prices will continue to increase through the fall and
Mhm.
spring.
Mhm.
But again, you're shaking up a magic 8 ball going what our price.
Right. And you said that went out for bid, or when the bidding was finished, what day was that? It was in April?
I think we advertised it in April. and
Okay.
opened it in late May, early June. I can't remember.
It was in June.
It was in June.
And, okay,
So you're the budget guy.
Yeah.
Coming up to 25 grand possibly.
Well, this is the point where, well, I have an answer to that, but let's get the rest of any discussion between the council out first. Any other thoughts from the rest of the council members, and that I'll come back to that.
Well, the gamble a year. So you lose everything. They'll make you do it, right?
Or walk away.
If you decide to walk away, there's 2 things that could happen. I've never had a client do it, so I think I know what happens. They pull the money from you. The engineering or work up to this point was paid by the grant. They would ask you
To pay you guys.
to return that back to them.
Okay.
And the likelihood of you getting any future grants would be slim to none.
Pretty much figured.
Any other thoughts?
I'd like to have the mayor here who's been involved in all this too.
Couple more bodies.
Yeah.
So I guess the way I would respond a little bit to your question, David, is from my position on the budget committee. I don't think we have the liberty of trying to budget for all of the 25. I think we'd have to be a little bit more aggressive than that and just know that we might have we might have to amend our budget at some point. But to a certain extent, what I would like to do is see just what your thoughts are, because Nathan will set your budget. And if we have to change the budget, you're going to be the one who's going to, I mean, at this point, your opinion is non-binding because you're not elected official, but since you're running unopposed, you will be mayor next year. So to be kind to you, I'd like to give you an opportunity to input on that.
Time to talk more about this. Some of the pros and cons here. To back out doesn't sound like a very good deal at this point. Not knowing how much money is really in the box.
How much would the engineering cost, Steve? You know?
To date or into the future.
If we back out, lose it.
If we back out, what's our financial liability?
It's more than 25,000. I can tell you that.
So that pretty much makes our decision.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
We lose 25,000 or lose 25,000.
And that 25,000 is a hypothetical. It's not a hard
No.
number.
And the only way you get away with that is if you put it out to rebid and get really lucky. By the thought that costs have fallen in the next couple months.
the likelihood of that being rather slim.
And you also said overruns have been running 1 to 4%.
Historically.
Yes, historically, if you were to remove this year, because we don't have any data for this year.
Right.
But if you were to look at our historical record, it runs anywhere from 1 to 4%. And I do that, and I've surely changed myself.
You've given the disclaimer that this past year may not be that situation.
Can I have it, but, because I work with a lot of contractors in town, concrete, if you can get it, it's not cheap, but it's mostly unavailable. It's the lack of production, it's that there's other projects that are taking up huge amounts of it. And that, for everyone I'm talking to, is not going to change.
And given that, that's a good point. I'd like to add a change order. If concrete like doubles, you can't get it. Is that gonna cost us
Nope.
extra?
No,
It's on them.
it's on them. This has a 20 working day window. I think it's 20 working days. That's what the contractor has to do. If he goes beyond it,
Yeah.
he starts paying liquidated damages to you.
So usually like a change order could be initiated on both, like say, no, we don't like that. We want to extend it over here more or make it wider. Change order.
Yeah, this is a unit bid quantity, so overrun on quantities is another one. What I mean by that is, let's pretend we forecast that 100 tons of asphalt is required. Well, by the time we get everything laid out, it's 120 tons.
Yeah.
That's another way to. So it's change orders and cost and quantity overruns, but we also underrun quantities too. So that's how the whole thing works.
Go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt the guest.
No, but the concrete's a very valid point. We would fall back onto the position, contractor, you bid it. You said we're starting August 1, you have 20 days to get it done. If you can't get concrete, that's on you. No one forced you to bid this.
No, I do. The contractors I work with are all doing residential. But I'll tell you what, it went from a 30, here's a bid, you have 30 days, it's binding, to 48 hours.
We had the same thing on pipe. So- But the contractor take that, but the contractor has to hold his price for 45 days. So the supplier's telling them this price is only good for 48 hours.
Yeah.
But he has to hold the price for 45 days for us.
Right. So we have 45 days. How many do we have left of that 45 then?
The bid is actually dated.
Special meeting.
Here it is. We opened bids on July 8th or June 18th. So I'd have to say so 45 days to be conservative from
June 18th.
June 18th.
In August, you said?
Beginning of August. We're coming up on 30 days on the 18th.
So June 18th, the 25th,
So 20 days.
and the
45 days
second
from
is
June 18th.
14th, and the 9th
Yeah.
is
Yes.
21, and 16th is 28.
That would be August.
You don't give us very long to sleep on it.
Yeah.
Usually it's not this
I know.
hard. I can tell you, even as soon as like last year, TIB's run into a real cash crunch.
Yeah.
So they're really being strict with this. Under even a year or two ago, you ran over, you'd call TIB, they go, we got it, don't worry about it. This year, they have been specifically told it is a no until, assume no until. So it's kind of a brave new world for us also.
Lovely.
So I think if I understand our options here, we can award tonight. We can choose not to award tonight. And then the next thing was somewhere around August 1st or right around the beginning of August. Before that point, we're going to have a special meeting if we still want to award under that 45-day protected bid. Option 2. Option 3, we can let that expire and send this out to rebid under the hope that we're going to improve our current situation. Option 4 is that we, rebid to the point where we try to walk away and we pay them potentially more than 25,000.
Hey, that might last and final long for.
So unless I'm missing something, those are our 4 options.
Yes, but just remember, if you decide to walk away and not do the project, not only would you
Yeah.
likely have to reimburse them, but the likelihood of you getting any road projects done now and for the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. Yeah. As a councilman, I would say I'm not open to that option. So I will entertain a motion to award tonight, but your guys' choice if you want to make it.
I'd feel more comfortable if the mayor were here to have input on what he thinks the best solution is. And given the importance of this project to the city, I think it's not out of line to expect a special council meeting to vote on this issue.
With the full council present.
Yeah.
Wasn't Nathan on holiday later this month?
Pardon?
Isn't Nathan going on holiday later this month?
August event.
Another week.
So we'd have to cram it in next
I
week
think
if we were going to.
Yeah, you'll be out of
Also, we're
pocket.
missing Justin and,
You'll be out of pocket for harvest
Hmm.
starting next week.
Well,
I guess my only concern is how much exposure for, the city gonna be on the hook for. And worst case scenario, might just go by just fine.
Yeah.
In a water pipe, they might not need water anymore, just keep going. That's your house.
yeah, thank you.
No, I wouldn't do that to you, Steven.
Could be Brad, not me.
But you guys, you did some GIS mapping and I mean,
We did everything that we could to ensure a high quality product.
Yeah.
But until you actually start digging everywhere, you never know. I mean, that car example,
yeah.
we did a test pit 10 feet that side, 20 feet this side, missed it.
See, that's why that junk car ordinance really is gonna come in handy.
You can't just bury them.
Yeah.
I built a swimming pool, I did swimming pool building when I was in high school, and I remember vividly this project, we were starting to dig into it. And we hit a rock that was the size of a Mack truck, right in the middle of where we were supposed to do it. Swimming pool got a little bit bigger, a lot bigger. And, you know, like you said, if you missed it, if there's a piece of basalt down there that's the size of this building, that might change things a little bit.
Break out the
I never looked at
jackhammers.
the engineering plans or, it's over there, but how extensive is it? Pretty. The complete tear down of the street? I mean, is it?
You will go down about a foot. So from the top of the asphalt down, the grinder will come in and take out, literally grind up that top foot, go through and grind through it. Then we'll come back and add cement to it and a little bit of water and mix that up. So you almost get a really very, very lean concrete mix as a base. And they'll go back over and pave.
Is it concrete or CDF?
No, it's saying it's even CDF would probably be overstating
Yeah.
how stiff it is. What we're trying to do is not bring in a bunch of crushed rock
Mhm.
because that costs more money. Just try to utilize the materials that are there, add a little bit of cement to stiffen it up a little bit, and then pave over the top of that.
Okay, so what I believe I'm hearing here is the council is more comfortable with special meeting than to move on this tonight.
Yeah, I propose we table the issue.
I would pull the trigger on it, but. I mean, my concerns is what we're. Doesn't sound like our odds are getting any better by,
I don't think so.
Delaying?
and how long is this project, how long have we been? Cause I've only been here a year on the council. This has been.
It's been discussion since
So
before. we-
Maybe
Yeah.
2 years,
Mhm.
maybe 20 months, something like that.
Well,
So I think it's either.
I would pull the trigger on it as well, but the thing is, if everyone else is willing to have a special meeting, I'm fine with that. For the sake of a special meeting, I'm not
I'd like to
gonna
see
exclude anyone.
details of the effect on the budget before we vote on it.
Is that a motion? Entertain a motion.
Do you need a motion to table? I don't think so.
I don't, it's just in mayor's update, but what, Levi?
Just gonna say, even though it is distasteful for you, considering this amount of money that we'd be dropping on this or risking dropping,
Hmm,
I'd have you vote if we were gonna put it to a vote tonight to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I don't think we need to vote tonight.
Okay.
The other thing I don't really want to, I mean, unless there is a need, I will be happy to do so if there's a need, but being that I live on that street, I would prefer to abstain. But no, I think it seems like we're more than willing to have a special meeting.
Okay.
We can keep it as the only agenda item and make it hopefully fairly quick. So I think we'll thank you for,
No problem.
update
For a
here
lot of
and-
you, it's the first time I've met you and I bring you this news. So I feel really fantastic about this.
I think you just brought us the news that 2020 was not a good year is really all I'm hearing.
2020.
I've heard that before.
Well, 2021, the construction side of it is just,
Well, right, but it's flowing through the supply chain.
yeah, it is.
So,
It's just,
The ripple effect.
yep.
it's ugly.
And first name was Steve?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I met you before. I think it was over Zoom.
Yes,
Yeah, that's.
You were in
Yes.
your basement.
yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you,
right.
Steve.
Let me know when the special meeting is. I'm more than willing to come out. I don't charge for this, much like Andy, we don't charge. for
Not a
stuff.
change order.
Not a change.
But if the price of gas goes up, it could.
We may be feeling it by then.
Yeah, so if you have,
That's full of fun information.
Okay.
Thank
Um,
you, Steve.
so special meeting, if you guys want me out here to kind of go over this again, to be here and answer questions, I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay.
We might do that.
You can get on Zoom with us too if you need to.
I like them. This stuff, so you can throw raw tomatoes and we go and make you use it.
Thanks for making.
Challenge
it.
accepted. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Steve.
So for the rest of the items in the mayor's update, and I am not the mayor, we'll see if we can do anything on these. Resolution for the surplus, sale of the surplus fire truck. Do you fire truck people know anything about this?
Nathan wanted a resolution from the council approving us to put it on the market the way we were intending to online through the auction houses that we found, auction sites. He wanted to make sure that the whole council was on board, considering the fact that was it 10%?
I think it was.
They charged a 10% commission. They wanted to make sure that the council was okay with.
Was it Nathan's specific wishes that all of the council members or just that it went through the council? In other words, is Justin's lack of attendance tonight a problem towards his wishes?
I don't believe so. He just wanted it brought to the council so everyone was aware, and then
Okay.
mentioned the possibility of a resolution from the council approving us to move forward with it.
Okay,
So I
willing to
can-
entertain a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to entertain that.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
We're voting on 10%.
Yes, the
That's-
auction house told us that 10% would be what they
I
would
saw your
charge us
email.
commission. Yeah.
Mhm.
And again,
I think placement is the key.
right,
If you place it on a site that's selling trucks, they gotta make their money somehow, but anyone who wants to buy a truck is gonna go there to see it.
right.
They're not gonna spend their time hunting around every little town saying, do you have a
Exactly.
fire truck? Do you have a fire truck? So to me, 10%
That's pretty, I mean, that's.
consignment.
standard.
is- Yeah.
Okay.
Any
Yeah.
other discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the resolution for sale of fire truck at 10% commission at the service that Levi, what's the name of the? I read your email as well. I just don't remember.
Yeah, I can see the, I cannot think of the name of the place.
We'll
right
fill
now.
that in as far as the name of
Okay.
the service. It's been officially picked and it's in Levi's email. So pursuant to that, all in favor of adopting that resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
I,
Motion, resolution passes 3-0. Okay, 6-year transportation improvement plan adoption. This is in the packet Jerry sent out. I don't know a lot about the tips stuff. You know, it's important that we have it. We keep it up to date. It's important as far as how we get our grant money. Past that, I don't know a whole lot else in the year that I've worked with this, but
Levi and I, we met with the mayor, Nathan.
Not
Yeah.
much. No, go ahead, Dave. Sorry about
But
that.
what we did that night and.
Right.
We discussed projects we'd like to see and we added to that list. I added a couple extra.
And I think the two that you added, or the ones that you added were all that we
Yeah,
we put in, because the streets that you saw were the ones that I saw. So,
So this is recommended at a committee,
yes.
okay? And there's nothing that's really binding in this, as far as I understand. It's just a plan, right, of things we'd like to get done in a certain priority order.
Correct.
So to that,
well, and talking further discussion with Nathan, he said that what we got 5 of the 6 or something, we should be good. And a lot of it's already been on the wish list on the plan for some time, so.
Okay.
He was fine with it at that time, a week ago.
okay. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the 6-year transportation improvement plan.
So moved.
Moved by Levi.
Second,
Second by David. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the 6-year transportation improvement plan signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Motion, the adoption passes 3-0. Thank you, council. GIS Consortium membership renewal. Does anyone know, is this a request for us to approve the renewal of our membership?
I
don't know.
know.
Jerry, you know? Okay, we will pass on that. Guess I should say that no one knows about any consequence. Do you know when our membership comes up? Okay, well, then we'll move on. Code enforcement fines and fees. Does anyone have an idea of what Nathan was going to share on that topic here?
Nope.
the only thing I could add to that is I've been working on with code enforcement, the adoption for our code enforcement officer. And near as I can tell, Lincoln County District Court will set those fees. Once we write in a civil infraction, they have it broke down to the degree, the class 1, 2, and 3. I think the maximum, I believe, is $250, and down to like $50 is your 50 to 250. So,
This is the court, you say, David?
yeah, the district court. Once we take our current ordinance that is in effect, and whatever number it is here. The problem has been, we haven't wrote any infractions. We've been writing notices. This is a 2008 ordinance. Were you on the council then? I think you were.
April
Anybody?
2008, I think I was.
Yeah,
I believe it is.
makes a person feel old, doesn't it?
You guys are barely on.
I wasn't on the council yet. I feel
The
bad.
9th day of April 2008. That's the current one. Yeah, it has just about everything that Wilbur's, and the reason why, for everybody's benefit here, I talked with district court, well, Sheriff Wade Majors, and then he put me over to, or directed me to Renee Honey, District Court. And talking with her, she said a lot of towns, Sprague, and I think Odessa, and Wilbur, of course, they're all working on this, and she said, her recommendation to copy or kind of set ours up like Wilbur. Because it seems to be the best one recognized by the court and in this county.
Yeah.
So that's the credit card one.
Okay. that's the one I was
I
looking
think
for.
it's on, I have it on the,
Okay, it's pretty concise though, is it not?
yes, and looking at what our city council has already done, there's a lot of things that are duplicate. However, it seems to be a problem with the past code enforcement officers, and the current one is that they're getting tired of just writing notices. And everybody just throwing them away or just non-compliance.
Mm-hmm.
And the avenue to take on this is that I called up, well, Renee Honey, the clerk, said to get yourself a ticket book. And I think the past mayor, Dylan Haas,
Mm-hmm.
was working on that. But since then, some laws have changed and some ticket books and a bunch of mumble jumble, a bunch of technical stuff has changed. And she said, you need a generic ticket book that one the courts will recognize. And she said one place to go is to talk to Chief Andy Mankey in Reardon. He's kind of spearheading them, you know, he's gung ho up there, doing a good job in Reardon. So I called him and he said, I'd be happy to send you guys. I told him our situation and what we're trying to do. He says, no problem. I says, I just ordered a case of those and I'll drop a ticket book to the off at City Hall. I have not seen it. I think it's already been picked up. They explained it's just not going to be able to write a ticket. You're going to have to write down a lot of information. There's a format, you know, a procedure for doing this.
Okay.
You can't just write, okay, here's your ticket. You have to follow some RCWs in it and stuff like that. But anyways, getting back, and I apologize for jumping all around, but our current code enforcement or our current ordinance and a few things out of Wilbur's, I think we can come up with something. I mean, we already, basically, in a nutshell, already have it there. The only thing we're missing is writing a civil infraction that we turn into the court, and the court, the person then answers to them, and they set out the fine, and they're
So-
regulated how much, go ahead.
Do they chase them
Yes,
then?
yeah, eventually, yeah,
At no cost to us?
no cost to us.
That's the key.
That,
That's like, right?
But there's something that the council's gonna have to come up to terms with. Wilbur has something a little different. I mean, it's 15 days. Like, for instance, somebody is out of compliance. The code enforcement officer determines they're out of compliance. He writes them a notice. The landowner or the vehicle or whatever it is, he writes, they write a notice. And there seems to be somewhat a bit of gray area. I mean, the MSRCs will give 30 days or 60 days, and whatever, but Wilbur and Harrington, they all agree on 15 days. And right away, they'll give Wilbur will give a ticket if they haven't complied. Well, some things in our city of Harrington, they have a right for a hearing. 15 days. Okay, they come make a hearing, or they solicit a hearing with the clerk, and then we sit down and find out what's going on. Is it really a nuisance? Is it really this? And we give them options to get rid of it. This is why it's in violation. We want it cleaned up. And you can come to terms like, okay, we'll give you 60 days, or we'll give you a specified amount of time to remedy the problem. However, at the end of that time, if they have not done that, if they just take them and throw them away, they don't contact the city and want to meet with us or come up with some kind of negotiation on this, then you write a civil infraction, a notice of civil infraction. And then that gets turned in, well, they get it, and then the officer, which in this case would be Jay, turns it into the district court, and then it goes from there. Then the court contacts them, and it's out of our hands.
Okay, so it sounds to me like the action for us going out of that is that we need to strengthen our ordinances to support that progression.
There's just a little paragraph to add that what happens. And
Right.
as soon as I get that typed up for everybody to look at, and I want to entertain, other people's ideas on this, but I'm not changing anything in the ordinance. There's a few things that need to be, we can't here. There is some verbiage in here that needs to be changed, private property, or, some less intrusive language. Instead of, we don't have a hearing panel, it'll be the mayor and council, unless we want to come up with some kind, we don't have a,
So there's some changes we'll need to
Code.
make in going through there.
we don't have a panel. for
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
But I mean, it's coming along, but I know Mr. Davenport had concerns on the fines and stuff. But it's really, it's up to and they are lenient over there. They're not going to just hammer them right off the bat. There's a schedule or a procedure they have to follow.
So,
For habitual, excuse me. go ahead.
sorry, no, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
For habitual, if they just ignore it, then they'll get so much. They can even go into fining them $200 and some a day,
I remember reading that. And then
non-compliance.
what you said, what you sent over.
which I
So-
don't think anybody, I think once this is in place and they know this, I think they're gonna comply. And I don't believe that the council, the city here is gonna be over intrusive and bearing, they're gonna give them plenty of time to do this, to remedy the problem.
So do you need a ordinances committee, or are you looking to have that put together to bring to the council at the next or one of the,
I guess I'll put it together for council.
okay,
Do you want hard copies or you want, I'll do both? So everybody's on the same page and
Okay.
I'll look at it and decide.
so Jerry, if you can add that as an action item to our next meeting, can't speak.
I hope that explained to everybody. I mean,
Mhm.
The city parcel sale list and discussion. I haven't seen the list as a list. I get the general concept. I don't think I know what to talk through on that. Jerry, you haven't seen anything to that effect?
I should have that. My only suggestion was to Nathan, I mean, Nathan and I sat down one Sunday or Saturday, just the two of us, and went through every one of them. It's a bunch of property the city has either acquired recently or in the last 20 years, let's say. And well, if I knew where that was. It'd be stuff like, I know a few of you guys will know what I'm talking about. The old state garage down there, there's stuff, there's just a little sliver next to the creek or between that and the Highway 28. And they're broken down into parcels there. Why? I don't know. But stuff like that, the city will probably never use. And did anybody buy it? I don't know. I don't know. There's a few others that we're going to keep, like the old fire station down there. That we're going to keep. Maybe if I could find this, I'd really like to know.
So while you're looking for that, we'll come back to that here in a sec. City light poles. Anyone know any updates on the city light poles? Obviously, we approved that in the bills, so things are happening, but I don't have the specifics on the updates. Jerry, you know anything on that?
I know that the one right over here that was backed over by a truck is going to be partially reimbursed by insurance. Other than that,
Okay.
I don't.
Is that insurance from the driver's insurance or our insurance?
Ours,
The driver's insurance is not participating in this.
not that I know.
Do we know who the driver is?
I do not.
I believe they did. They talked about it.
I think we do. Yeah.
I've gotten this much information,
Okay.
so.
Okay. While David's looking, a couple other things I want to mention. One, on behalf of David and myself with handbook committee stuff, we got through our last red line revision. And so we are waiting a final version from Kelly.
Okay.
And that will take one last review over that to make sure that it is in line with our wishes. And then we will report out to the council for the adoption of a new handbook.
Okay.
We have put many hours in on this, going over it and over it and over it. So I think it's good. We deleted over a third of it, I think, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, we don't really need 4 pages talking about how we manage our social media accounts.
Okay. Makes sense.
So anyways, that's coming close. And then Jerry, do you know, coming out of our special meeting last week, did the offer get made, and was there an up or down on that candidate? Derek, I think it was.
Derek, he was approved.
Did he accept?
He is supposed to be accepting, but he's gone off the grid. He was supposed to contact Nathan a couple
Okay.
days ago,
Okay.
and Nathan, to my knowledge, hasn't heard from him yet.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
we're not sure what's,
He's gone off the what?
Off the
Sure.
grid.
Off the
He's-
grid.
yeah, we cannot get a hold of him. And he said he really wanted the job and he would take it. And he was supposed to come in and do paperwork and stuff, and Nathan hasn't got a hold of him since. And he's tried 3 or 4 times. So,
Did you get it there?
Mhm. So, I mean, I think for the purposes of this discussion, we're back on the city surplus sale list. My recommendation is we turn our attentions first and foremost to those that are most clearly surplusable. So reading the ones off the list here that have surplus without a question mark. There is one that does not have a description, the second line down. Then there's both sides of the tracks behind the Chris Meats residence.
Birch Armstrong's old place.
Yeah.
Next to SR 28 Quonset building. West of the tennis courts.
And that one there is right by the railroad, between the railroad and that. It's.
It's that triangular piece
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Triangle Properties behind Highline Grain.
And that is between, that's like on Adams Street, the crossing there.
Between there and the
Fourth,
tracks.
yes,
Okay.
Oh, okay.
there's kind of a, if you take from the crossing and head north till you run into the
Right.
granary there.
The Rocky Weedy.
Next to
chunk.
4th Street, yes.
Directly west of Levi S residence. That's the Olaf property.
Right.
Okay.
That's the only one that's really buildable.
Yeah.
Triangle on Coffee Pot Road.
There's a little triangle up there off of, well, I believe on the map, it was just to the south of the Freese residence. And
Okay, so that'd be up behind Karen Robertson's place or on the
yeah,
other side of
that's
the
not-
road?
That's, no, it'd be on the south side of that,
Okay,
Hmm.
Rockland Road.
okay.
Question, David, have you shared this list with the other council members?
He just sent it out, I think.
Yeah, I just sent it to you.
Yeah.
Nathan sent this list to me. Yeah, we sat down and looked at it, and one of the things that he asked to do, and I didn't do it, but I wanted to ask in person, basically, this question. Is there's a few things that I would like, and I know I get a lot of screaming people at me for this, but one way to look at this is what are the pros and cons to keeping it? You know, how does it reflect on the city as far as us keeping it? What are the pros of keeping it? And what are the cons for keeping it? And a good example, or one that comes up, and I know Nathan's, I can't speak for him, but one of the things I look at is we're having a hard enough time keeping up with what we have.
Mhm.
And when I say liabilities, I'm not just saying as a financial, a monetary liability, but all aspects of it. And one of the things in my mind, this is where we're going to get beat up at, is the new town square over here. I know it's an idea and people want to go a certain direction with that, but I'm looking at the future obligation of the city taking care of it. Personally, I'd like to see it privatized, or somebody, an organization other than the city handle that. And I, just off the top of my head, I looked, what are the pros of the city owning that? And what are the cons? Well, the con list is a mile long, and the pros, you know, the benefits, I don't know if I can't think of one except saying that we own land over there. We're not charging any rent off of it, like the Memorial Hall. We get rent and, you know, stuff like that. Unless I'm missing something, it's just food for thought. I know I'm not telling anybody how to vote or do anything about it. It's just, it seems to be the city's struggle. I don't think the city's in a position to be a land bearer, and we talked about this for as tax purposes. I think the citizens should own it. And I'm not just talking about that, but I mean, everything that is surplus here. And go back to the tax rolls on it. Because we have some of these areas that we'll go through here, there's weeds and I mean, there's all sorts of stuff on it. And we're hard pressed for our maintenance crew now. We don't have the resources to go out here and attack all this, beautify it, and you know, all these things. So one of the things that you'll see a question mark under Eric Tim residence, the Bob Reef house up there. That parcel number shows the city owning that house. So Jim, I think you mentioned, you're kind of shaking, you know something about that.
It was my great grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really, the alignments in there, property lines for where to move.
So is that something we should just forget about? I mean, how does, you know?
I think we should cut the house in half.
Then the city owns the beach to the north. I think there's a triangle.
Oh, goodness.
Well, you know, just by the tax shifter, we looked at it in the map and Nathan pointed out, Dave, look at this. And he says, I'm not sure. There's question marks here. It's showing on the maps, you know, that's not written in stone. But I go, you know, if.
We own 2 trees and a hedge. That's
Well, I think we should talk with the rest of the property owner because
right.
they should want to try and clean this up
Mhm.
as well. I would not want to be the property owner in that position. So maybe if they can if we can get that, I don't know what it takes to like realign that. And maybe there could be a little bit of offload. And if both parties would be happy, that would be hopefully a good opportunity. I would say in general, our 2 best options are the Olaf property for sale. And then also to see if Highline Grain is interested in picking up anything that's adjacent.
Okay.
That would be my 2 cents, because instead of putting those open for bid, who else would probably want those properties aside from Highline Grain wanting to pick up adjacent? I would.
Well, the
Yes.
other one is the ecology. Well, see, there was some other stuff that there was some offset up there. Okay,
Well, the ecology park and that kind of stuff, I know when Justin is here, he says that's going to be a mess for us with.
there's two areas concerned with that. There's one there. It's a 208 swale, Ralph Barbry's house, just to the west of that. And we're going to keep that. That's not going to be surplus, but also this one's Jack Moyer's driveway to the west of that.
Okay.
And that sounds to me like we traded some wetland or some land for this lagoon, I mean, down there and that. So that probably you can't get into. The other areas, there was one right here. Sorry.
Well, I just think it would behoove us to make sure that we don't try and move on all of them at once. We
Right.
should just take the
Right.
most eligible ones and see if we can get them done and just start checking it off. It's like either we were able to move it or anyone who should have been interested wasn't, and it's off the table for now, and we'll revisit it again in 5 years or something like that.
I guess what Nathan and I come up with is that we'd like to, from the council or anybody, public opinion, whatever, on this is what, going forward, what is the city, what's the benefit of the city? And what does it cost the city to keep this? And that'll determine a lot of it too.
So
We want that
for the
obligation.
2 that I listed as I think of the prime candidates, I see no benefit to the city owning the Olaf property or anything that's adjacent to Highline Grain on the sides of the tracks.
The one up here, we call the park, whatever, but years ago, next to Charlton Station, the Husky Station, right at the entrance.
Where the bell is.
Yeah, he was, I think, I don't know if that's a Triangle Park at 3rd and Sherlock. Okay, that's there. Surplus question mark. What do we really do with that now? I mean, is that being taken care of by the landscapers, the contractors? Does anybody know?
Couldn't say.
No
I don't
idea.
know which piece of property.
Straight up this street, and you start to turn up over the railroad tracks, that little
Cupola?
gazebo, yeah,
Gazebo.
whatever, that area.
Mhm.
It's just a little pie. It's not very big. It's probably about, according to the map.
I would doubt that it would be saleable, but I
The
don't.
only one that would probably be interested in it would be Highline.
Right.
Mhm.
And so that's why I say you go to Highline and say, what of anything that's adjacent to you, do you want any of it?
Just a point of interest that I dealt with surplus property through the DOT. We went through and
thinned out some of our pits and stuff, and you can't specify that you're gonna sell this to this person, this to that person. As a public entity, it's gotta go to bid.
Okay.
Now, that was advertised in like the Davenport Times?
Yeah,
or-
or I think there's 3 different publications that we have that are in the state system anyway, that are recognized.
Okay.
And they've
Yeah,
got to be
you're
Well, if
recognized
that's-
through the-
If that's the case, then I might have to change my statement to say it would perhaps then behoove us to just list them all. Can we list collectively, or do we have to list them
I think
all?
it's each parcel. But,
You have to.
Okay.
You know,
then
and
never mind.
yours may very well be different,
Yeah.
but it's something to look into before you go
Okay.
ahead.
I think you're right though, Jim. You pretty much, and there's a couple here to add to it. The guys that know what I'm going to talk about is from the old fire station, across the creek and on the, well, northwest side of Highway 28 there, next to Robertson's, Brea, the Rock Bluffs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple, there's
No.
there.
That chunk belongs to the city as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of parcels in there.
Okay.
Didn't we sell that to Bill Floyd at one point
I,
on the Rocky
oh no,
Bluffs?
there's that, no, well, I don't know. It doesn't say that. But I think you're talking over by Mickey Turner's.
Yeah.
On the north side of
Yeah.
Rockland Road. This would be on the south side of Rockland Road. If you go past Harrington Truck and Auto into that bridge, take a right to Davenport, left Odessa, basically. As soon as you turn to go to Davenport, look straight, that rock, that at that point, your directions, you're basically, there's no-
You're just south of Robertson's then.
yes,
Okay, where the trees, there are the trees and then the Quonset hut's just to the left of that.
yeah, it's
Okay, it's right in between the
Those
Robert,
two.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Sixth
So-
Street.
basically, yes.
So what I would say is let's set an action item for Nathan or you to check into what's the sale procedure to see, can we list collectively or do we have to do it individually? Because the answer to that determines our path forward. If we can list collectively, I think we'd be better off figuring out all that we want to sell, putting them out there and seeing what interest they draw. If we have to do them individually, then we should figure out which ones are our most eligible, bite off chunk and chew it down.
Okay.
So at least in my opinion, we don't know how to proceed until we know how we can sell.
Right.
The only thing I would ask my fellow colleagues and pro tem mayor is, we really got, determining this, just figure out what benefit are they to keep
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
Well, but I guess that's going to be on an individual, each property is on an individual basis. So I guess the thing is the scope of that question is determined by how much we're trying to sell at once.
Well, this is what Mayor Nathan wanted, which decided which ones. He pretty much said which ones we're going to keep and which one to go. And to be honest, there's a few of them that he's on the fence with. So, I mean, that's what I was referring to, just some more input from council members.
Well, and I think we also talked about,
Thanks.
we would have a public hearing before we came to the point of sale, because I can say that I don't know of any benefit to the city owning the properties that were listed, but I've lived here for 7 years. I've been on the council for 1 year. I don't know if that gives me enough experience to know if I know what I'm talking about. So I think, the council can say no, but until we hold the public hearing, I don't really know that we say that we have a complete picture on the subject, so. So street vendors, discussion on street vendors, insurance and fees. That's you, David.
Yeah, we had a street fair here in June. And there was a lot of misunderstanding, maybe some hurt feelings to some degree between different organizations. I think it went off well. But going forward in the future, first of all, does the city have any policy regarding vendors, insurances, requirements, and do we charge for vendors to set up?
But we didn't put on the event, so I don't understand how we
It's
become
it's city
relevant.
property.
I can help with this topic. This is Sharon.
Go ahead, Chair.
The insurance is covered for the events that the Chamber of Commerce sponsors. the Chamber of Commerce has insurance. And the city, to the best of my knowledge, isn't required to have insurance for that event or the vendors because they are not sponsoring the event.
Right.
And we do charge a fee for the vendors of $25 an event maximum. And we don't charge for nonprofits. But that money goes to the chamber as a way to compensate the chamber for the expenses of putting on the event, the advertising and the, any costs incurred. Does that help?
Yeah, somewhat it does. I just, I know that the biggest thing was the talk was about who's responsible for liabilities. I guess to mitigate lessen the liability exposure to the city.
There is, okay, so Cindy Hawsey at Odd Insurance is the person to talk to about the insurance coverage. Would you like to have a meeting with her? I can organize a meeting with you and the mayor if needed, and myself and Cindy, so that we can talk about all this, or, how would you like to?
I guess that would probably be fine, but my whole point of bringing this up was, where does the city stand on that? Do we have any policies regarding this? Are we good at the way things have been? I know other cities, towns charge a fee for vendors coming in on city property. I don't know if Harrington ever has, if they just left it up to the organizations. Anybody know?
Nope.
It has not been the case with Lions Club and Fall Fest.
And it hasn't been the case, to the best of my knowledge, with Cruise in Harrington.
Okay.
I talked to AWC regarding that event, and they weren't concerned about the city's liability, so long as the chamber was covered.
Okay.
So once the chamber took care of it, AWC said, thanks for the call.
Well, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. I'm neither here nor there on this. I just want to make a policy that, because there was a lot of questions got thrown around in a quick order or short order. And it was just, you're going to be asked, the clerk, Jerry, you're probably going to, by anybody, and I was just trying to make it easy on everybody that you'll have an answer. That you'll hear 10 different answers.
AWC gave me a handbook on it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got it in a binder. And the next event will just follow those procedures. There's a complete checklist. As long as we go through that checklist, I think the city will be okay on it.
Okay. That answers it.
I'm still interested, excuse me. I'm still interested in having a meeting with the four of us or so, and to make sure that I'm correct about the insurance as far as the city goes.
Okay, so is that something you would like Nathan to reach out to you about?
Sure, yes.
Okay, if you could list that as an action item for Nathan, please. Okay, so are you good on that?
That's
point?
good. Yeah.
Okay. Next one, discuss proper procedures for street closure. That's also you.
Okay, that kind of falls into this again. And I'm just trying to set up a procedure that we don't get into a big kerfuffle anymore about this.
This is a good idea. Yeah.
I'd like to see it, if somebody has a request for closures, that it goes to the mayor or council, and what it is, and, come up with a plan. I know this particular one involved the fire station and some RCWs and all that. So just so everybody's on the same page, whomever, whatever organization or whatever wants to be shut down, that we have a procedure, that we all know about it, And I don't think there'll be any problems, but then it is ordained and rubber stamped, or I mean stamped and out the door and away we go. It's no, so everybody's on the same page. There's no questions.
Yeah.
I
It's-
I
think
would-
that's a smart idea.
So one thing that I think would be good that would have helped perhaps in some of the concerns is to put a policy in place going forward that any street closure on the adjacent property to the fire hall can only be approved with the an approved motion from the commissioners.
Okay,
I think
That makes
they're really
sense.
the only place in town that really deserves that consideration, given that they are protecting lives and property,
right.
that they should have the ability to have a veto power. Because,
Well, there's RCWs regulating that for one.
well, and I'm sure, well, I'm not familiar on which RCWs regulate what you can and can't do. I don't know if the RCWs talk about the method of communication. Right now, I'm talking about the method of approval and communication, less about what we do and don't do, but how do we do it? And I think one of the points where we may have fallen down is, from what I heard, there was, well, so-and-so talked to so-and-so and they said it was okay. And then there were other people who were involved with the fire district that didn't know about it or say, I didn't say okay. And so it was a bit unofficial in some of the communication channels. And so I think saying that in the future, that it has to come from a vote. That way, on the fire district side of it, can't be any claims of ignorance because it came from a vote in a meeting. And if they're good with it, they should know the RCWs that impact their ability to get in and out. We should know our RCWs about what we can and can't do with our streets. If our governing body and their governing body has approved it, then we've got the two in place. But
I like to see it for all street closures that we go through. So it's all rubber, I mean, it's all standard operating procedure.
Just another point of interest that because I've been involved in it. You've got to get a permit to close this highway. It's got to go through the DOT, it's got to be approved through them. There's got to be an approved detour in place. You can't just barricade it off. And I'm not too sure that's what hasn't been happening. Is the city's been barricading it off, pretty much assuming all the liability for the detours that they need to get a permit.
And that's a biggie.
And it's not a difficult thing, but it does need to go through the proper channel to the DOT to get that.
has that not been happening with like Lions Club parades and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And see, that's what I'm looking at is the liability, like Jim mentioned. Thank you for that. Is that we have a standard, we have a nucleus here. This is where you go to get the answers. And this is what we have to deal with. And X, Y, and Z has to happen. It's not, we're not going to decide yes or no or favoritism like that. No, this is what you need to do. You have to have this in place. And affected businesses, or residents will come up with a solution. It's just a starting point, and that way the maintenance guy, he said yes, but no, that councilman doesn't like that and doesn't do this. And I mean, it gets a finger point like that. It's just one simple, straightforward answer.
Yep.
That's a good point, but each organization would be required to come to the city to get that permit approved, and then the city could submit that permit for DOT to.
Right.
Does closing off the highway, Jim, require law enforcement participation? Do you know?
Not necessarily. It's a signage type thing. Usually law enforcement does it as a courtesy.
Courtesy is
But you can't have.
So
that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
is there's no action on that for tonight, though?
Signage.
It was just discussion.
Okay. The Snowbird Utilities I had informed the council my intent was to come with a proposal in August. So this being July is the last call on, I had heard interest expressed from David. So I'll be getting together with David in the next month. But this is my last call that if you want to have a discussion with this outside of the council meeting, as far as what we end up bringing to council, please let me know. And we will discuss that pursuant to Randy Behrens's concerns with the rate changes.
You want to be on that?
Yeah. And
You want to be as
I'd
well,
like to be
Peter?
part of that.
Okay, Levi, are you interested?
No.
Okay.
Good.
Next is dropping the Zoom subscription. This is another one of mine. Zoom has been particularly problematic for us in the last number of meetings. It keeps crashing when it didn't used to crash and is cut us off midway through the last meeting and has just been problematic. The original thought with getting Zoom in place was to give us an opportunity to meet when we had no opportunities for physical meetings. Now, Nathan has informed me that we are still under mandate to have a way for people to watch and participate, remotely, or, well, I shouldn't say participate. He was under the impression that the YouTube stream of it would meet the requirements for remote access and hearing, that we are not currently, because of the fact that anyone can come to these meetings and can be socially distanced and whatever factors into that, that people have access through physical presence to be able to speak and that they would have the ability to hear from anywhere. So until we get that completely finalized, I don't think we can take an action on that this meeting, because we would need to affirm that we would just move to YouTube going forward.
Okay.
There's a couple benefits to that. One, the software is generally more stable in doing the YouTube stream. I think we'll have less problems with it. You guys have seen me struggling to get, like this meeting, it kept crashing for 10 minutes straight. Finally got it seeming to work here. But I'm hoping that it has a lot less to dink with before the meetings. The other thing is that Zoom doesn't allow us to do 2 microphones. The YouTube stream will. We got 2 microphones as a part of the thing. These pick up exceptionally well, better than I thought when we bought them. But we do have the ability to plug 2 in, put one on that side or one on this side, or put one over there for guest speakers. We have the ability to broaden the area that we can receive sound from. And Zoom costs money and YouTube does not. So I will refrain from any actions at this time because we don't know if it would be proper for us to act on removing Zoom yet. But I guess it's a heads up that the intention was that Zoom was not going to be a part of our meetings permanently into the future. And this was always a planned transition. And I think we're pretty close to here. And if we can do it, I will make the motion to do so at our next meeting. So.
Sounds good.
Last thing before we go into, well, we have executive session listed. I don't know if anyone here knows what that was about, but we do have, I missed when we were going through the minutes, that we do have minutes for the July 8th special session that we did not approve. My apologies on that. This is in your packet. It is in the email. It's pretty sparse, so it should be hopefully a pretty easy approval.
Were the minutes sent out just during the meeting tonight?
No, this was in the packet that was sent yesterday.
I have that packet that didn't have the minutes that I'm aware of.
Probably not yours. I probably missed it.
And David, if you'd be so kind, can you maybe, if you've got to put your screen in front of Peter so he can take a look?
If I can find it. I'm looking. I know I have it. Yes, I will.
Yeah, yesterday at 4:44 p.m.
Oh, I know.
You can see the whole thing and just, you don't even have to scroll. It's amazing. Warms my
I
heart.
don't even see a typo in it. I'm good.
I know.
Pretty straightforward.
It's a work of art.
I do not have that.
Well, here you go, guys.
It's the one page. That's all of it, right?
You don't even have to scroll.
Very bad.
Okay,
Can you see it closer?
That's good.
Mhm. Good. I'll make a motion to accept minutes as read.
Motion by David,
A second.
second by Levi. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes for the July 8th special session signify by saying aye.
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 All right, minutes are approved, passes 3-0. So no one knows the executive session.
Nope, wasn't me this time.
Okay, public comment. Jim, I know you said you had something.
Yeah, this is more just maybe to give a little background. My neighbor was out leveling off a spot right next to the street. He may be inquisitive, are you gonna build something here? What are you gonna do? Well, we're gonna put a storage. Shipping container. And I thought, that's gonna be what I'm gonna look at for the next 25, 30 years before they carry me up on the hill. And I just don't think that it's a proper thing to have, especially on street front residential property. It's an industrial piece of equipment that once it goes in there, whether they say it's temporary or not, these things don't go away. And they're big and they're hard to move. So I don't think we've got any kind of a policy on the books as far as setbacks, as far as, foundation, anything like that. And with the cost of building right now, I think there's a lot of people are going to be tempted to go ahead and buy one of those because they're cheap and stick them on a lot here someplace. And that's what we'll be looking at.
Have they put it in yet?
No.
Which property is that?
Okay, you know where my house is,
Yep.
you know where John Adams's house is.
Yep.
That front block, all the way through there between us,
Mhm.
is zoned residential. When I was on the council, Paul and I argued over that when we were rezoning, looking into zoning. And the front part of that is residential, the back part is industrial.
Okay.
I don't think there's much we can do about, somebody putting an industrial piece of, equipment on a industrial zone piece of property. But the way that was, it was right up to the street front. There was no setback, which, if we build a house there, I think, what is it, 20 feet, 25 feet?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Setback on an alley, you've got to have a setback. And if these things, if we don't, set a policy up, I know there's 4 in town right now and the way this kind of worked out, I brought it up to my neighbors up there to see what they thought. They agreed with me that it's not something they wanted to look at. And then just through, talking to different people, I volunteered to bring it to the council to ask you guys to take it into consideration. That, a lot of us are trying to keep our places up, keep them, free of junk and, fire hazards and that type of thing. And I think it's something that we need to look into as far as some kind of a policy for these things.
Well, is it, Jim, when you're talking to these guys, did they mention their intentions? Were they is it a temporary or is
Well, they said temporary, but from everything I've seen with that property, as far as,
temporary is 25 years?
as far as cleaning up anything,
Yeah.
it's just another place to throw stuff. And I think probably 1 would become 2, would become 3,
Uh-huh.
It ended up looking like my neighborhood.
But, okay,
that's.
I know they have pods and they have similar, similar looking, but
It's not a fiberglass.
Odds are to be picked up though.
Yeah.
but I'm saying if we come up with a solution to this, that an ordinance saying that they're allowed only on a temporary basis, like 30 days or something, somebody's moving or a temporary basis,
Right,
Yeah,
and
not
that
a
was the one that
permanent.
was named.
not a permanent
The
structure.
2 down on the highway, they've been there 5 years and haven't moved.
Across the other side of the highway.
I know there's a ordinance, and I did briefly, a month ago, I was going through some files, And they're quite old, but the newest one reflected the last, 30 years before that. And there was stuff talking, addressing what you're saying. And what brings to mind, I gotta go back and look at it some more. But I was working on other stuff, so I didn't entertain it too much. But I do remember that there was a section in there that if anything, if a neighbor uses a nuisance is against our ordinance. I mean, it is,
It's in the ones I gave you.
yeah, it's in there.
You know, that's considered a nuisance.
Yeah.
So it's valid, it's a valid concern.
Just as a point to start a discussion, is what's the main thing, and I just hate to see,
I think it's 482.
But
you know-
the thing of it is, once we start doing stuff, how far do we gotta go? Because I mean, according to what I read in some of the old paperwork, that if your neighbor doesn't like the color of your house, we'll call it a nuisance, I mean, but I do understand there are setbacks, there's, lack of term here, but it would address that. Granted, back when this was written, I think this is, I mean, they weren't that popular. I mean, they all,
right, yeah, they become available with.
in 96,
Yeah,
I think it's the most current one we have.
that was about the time I got off.
Yeah. And,
I won't mention how old I was then.
I think you came on about that time.
it's something I think I would entertain or would like the council to put on the agenda or an action for the mayor to bring up, that we revisit these ordinances and take into consideration the aesthetics of the town.
So what I would say is that, just speaking as a councilman, that before I be prepared to vote on anything in the next meeting or even really discuss it, I would like the relevant ordinances sent out so I could come in having read them, because I don't believe I've seen the ordinances of which you speak. So.
Right, and that's part of it, is that we go through this and then see where our current was in place and how does that pertain to now?
Right.
And going forward, do we want to amend that in any way?
And if they're deemed, temporary, that there would have to be some type of permit that had an ending date on it, that you would enforce it, that they'd have to be moved. 'Cause they're big, and I'm afraid what's gonna happen, people are gonna, $3,000 or $4,000, they drop one in here, they move off, and there it is, and the next owner.
Are they talking about like a 44?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
Not a little one like that.
no, well,
I wouldn't want to look at that one either.
no. But, that one, they put in down there is back away from the street, but there's nothing to say he couldn't put that right on the street, right at the front of his property. So I think it's something we need to at least look at some policy of some kind.
Did you say we had 4 containers in the city already? Did I understand?
I believe so. There's one up by your place.
Yeah.
That green one that's at Kelly Tim's. There's one at James's. There's 2 across the road. I don't know what you can do about those, that they're there, but I've heard comments about those along the highway. That's a beautiful house. It's just too bad it's got those things in front of it.
So is the straw poll, the citizens, you've heard concerns, complaints, or over this, what we have so far? I mean, it's an eyesore to other people.
They
Okay.
brought it up. I mean, it was kind of one of those that I brought up my situation and my concerns, and it kind of went to that, from the comments that I received. So I just said I'd bring it to the council and ask for your help. So, that's where I'm at.
Well, when I heard about it, Jim, that's when I'm aware of it, and I looked into, I think I was here, and there was a dog issue, and then there was this. And I just started rifling through, and I don't know where the box is now, but I started looking into that, and I believe there's validity to this, without a doubt, but I think it's something the council should look at, what we have currently and how we're gonna address this.
Well, the new thing now is storage sheds and that type of thing. Are they subject to some kind of a code or not? That's where we're at. Might as well include the whole thing with it, you know, as long as you're working. on it.
The storage sheds aren't. You know, let's put on a pad.
Yeah.
They're sitting there.
loose definition for portable.
Well, if it's sitting on a pad where they can pick it up,
Mhm.
that's how they get away with these.
So is there any further public comment?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Levi,
Second.
second by Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Adjournment 3-0.
Is anybody still on?
Sherry is. Thank you all for your patience. Apologize for any incompetence, and hopefully Nathan will be back next time.
You did good.
Good job, Sam.
Oh. Okay. Well, I just looked down.
But that is, it's unbelievable. This is a 96. I looked at a bunch that were 30 years before that. And it had a lot of
Another one down.
that.
Another one down. Where were they called off
You don't think I'm gonna read it? Well, I just,
David and I were talking about that beforehand. We didn't really know.
I bet you did.
I saw
I
some
think
fire
I
trucks
think I
coming
went
in before the meeting from north of town.
Okay.
94, and I was on.
With Nathan. Oh, yeah, you can just leave.
There. Jerry, is this yours?
Well,
What would maybe help is.
there's a lot of stuff that
Click the
needs to
pad.
probably be addressed.
Might be a little bit more relaxed.